Please welcome the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, the President of the University of Northern Iowa, Benjamin J. Allen, the university's Executive Vice President and Provost, Gloria J. Gibson, and our distinguished panelists.
Welcome to the University of Northern Iowa. One of the functions of a great university is to bring visionary thinkers of our time to share their ideas and philosophies with our students, our faculty, our staff, and our citizens. This morning's panel discussion is an extraordinary opportunity for our panelists to engage in a conversation with His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet regarding a significant educational issue for society, educating for a non-violent world. Moderating today's panel discussion will be Executive Vice President and Provost Dr. Gloria Gibson. Provost Gibson is the university's Chief Academic Officer, as in charge with oversight of the university's teaching, scholarship, and service to Iowa and the nation. Provost Gibson.
Thank you very much for your attendance at our panel this morning, Educating for a Non-Violent World. I will briefly introduce our panelists. You can find detailed bios in your program. Our panelists are His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. His Holiness is both the head of state and the spiritual leader of Tibet. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989 for his nonviolent struggle for the liberation of Tibet. He has consistently advocated policies of nonviolence, even in the face of extreme aggression. Since 1959, His Holiness has traveled to more than 62 countries, spanning 6 continents. He has met with presidents, prime ministers, and crowned rulers of major nations. Since 1959, His Holiness has received more than 84 awards, honorary doctorates, and prizes in recognition of his message of peace, nonviolence, religious understanding, universal responsibility, and compassion. He has also authored more than 72 books. Let us welcome him again. Art Erickson, founder and CEO of Urban Ventures Leadership Foundation. In 1993, Erickson co-founded Urban Ventures, a faith-based nonprofit organization committed to breaking the cycle of generational poverty by developing youth leadership, strengthening families, and creating meaningful work opportunities. Art? Your statement is a wonderful segue into a discussion of what's happening in South Minneapolis. Lee and Art have been leaders in efforts to transform the Phillips and Central neighborhoods in South Minneapolis. Could you both talk about breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverties? We have poverty of education, poverty of family, poverty of economics, poverty of the spirit. Lee Rainey, President, C-Level Consulting, now president of his own consulting firm. Lee Rainey has been actively involved in the Minneapolis urban community for more than 30 years, serving in a leadership capacity on numerous boards and committees impacting youth from diverse backgrounds to build and improve upon their educational and life skills. Let us welcome Lee.
Thank you, Gloria. How do you address these poverties and violence in a comprehensive manner? I know Art's going to talk about empathy and the compassion, and I know that they're important. But what I have learned in the 30 years that I have worked with Art, Art's the leader, I've been a part of the board for the last 30 years and working with him as a friend. In order to be successful in working against violence and poverty, it takes not only empathy and compassion, but it requires that you have a vision. And that vision must be combined with a passion to help you execute that vision. Because when you're dealing with disenfranchised cultures, there's going to be a lot of opposition to stop you from being able to accomplish what it is that you'd like to do. Within that 1 mile radius of South Minneapolis where Urban Ventures is located, Art perpetuated a new vision. He not only wanted individuals to have the fish to feed themselves, not only teaching them how to fish so that they'd live for a lifetime, but Art said, we want them to own the pond. Because if you own the pond, then you have control. And you can go in and get, thank you. You can go in and get the fish when you need it to help sustain you and your family. But to accomplish this was a significant challenge within a community in which the primary economy had begun to leave. If you lived in the inner city or the largest cities back in the 60s, you noticed that there was a great white flight from the inner city. Many of the European Americans left the inner city and moved to the suburbs. One of the ways to help develop a comprehensive strategy is that you stay within the community. Art stayed within the community. Now you can tell that was a challenge for him because he's a European American and most of those folks were black or Latinos. So it was a challenge to stay there, but he did. He stayed in the community. And one of the several things that he did, he put into effect that I was so proud to work with him as a part of. First of all, he focused on the spirituality and the well-being of the individual. He focused on the youth who, after school, between 3:30 and 8 o'clock at night is when they get in trouble a lot. So he said, I got to provide meaningful activities for those youth to keep them out of trouble. Looked at educational programs in terms of tutoring and counseling, which eventually led to the development of the Colin Powell Educational Center that he was able to found there on the south side of Minneapolis. The family structure was very critical that we looked at. For example, Mad Dads Against Violence, getting men in the community to walk the streets to help protect against violence. Another key area was the Fathering Center, where we have individuals like Mr. John Turnipseed here, and I'm sure he won't mind me telling you, who was an ex-con and had many children. But he is working with fathers in that community, teaching them how to be fathers rather than just to be baby makers. There was a key on bringing back the economy to the business, establishing local businesses such as restaurants and teaching people how to become chefs. Building relationships within the community was essential, which included such things as having communication with the black churches, working with the community leaders, being involved with the civic leaders such as the council people, the mayor, the governor, even our congressional folks, and also then bringing in big business such as Target, Best Buy, and Ryan Corporation. Art was able to get these business leaders to realize that you need to partner with them now and pay through charitable contributions, or you pay later through the violence that goes on in the community, through the penal institutions, and the welfare system that would be developed. So in my opinion, having a passionate vision was the foundation to a lot of the key successes that have been generated by Urban Ventures. Art, you want to add to that?
The community I live in, 35% of the kids graduate from high school. In the suburbs, 97% will graduate. There was a study done by the McKnight Foundation that showed that 80% of the kids in our community do not live with a father in the home. The one indicator of every gang kid is that there is not a father in the home. And this is the story of really inner city communities, urban communities around the country. And part of the education is that the school systems in urban communities are really challenged. They're in trouble across the country. And it's John Turnipseed who said, it's not the schools that are broken, it's the communities that are broken. And we're sending broken kids to the schools to fix them and to educate them, and they can't do that. So part of the education process is to educate ourselves as to what's really occurred in the last 40 to 45 years in urban communities. What happened was leaders with skills and resources left. That's called white flight. And then the primary economy left with them. So in our area, John Deere, White Motors, Minneapolis Moline, Honeywell International Headquarters, the big Sears store that had 2 million square feet left Lake Street and went out to the Mall of America. And the primary economy left, and then the secondary economy came in, and the secondary economy is any way I can make my money. I steal, I sell drugs, I sell myself, I sell somebody else, I get a check. None of it has dignity. And it is created in urban communities what we call the donut paradigm. That is, the resources are on the outside and there's a hole in the middle. And the problem is it's not a hole in the middle, a donut hole, it's a sinkhole. And so the question is, how can we take that sinkhole that if we don't solve, we're going to export it to the first-ring suburbs? How can we make that donut hole a English muffin? How could we make it a Bismarck with the goodie in the middle? And how do we do it not by moving the existing people out, but by taking the existing people and building their capacity to make this a livable, sustainable, safe neighborhood once again. And so we do it by addressing kids, families, strengthening families, putting the father back in touch with their kids, and living wage jobs that pay a living wage, jobs that pay a living wage. And so we package that together.
We do have to address these issues and not sweep them under a rug, because many things are happening in our communities, and we do have to address those issues. I'd like to have a question from Art, since he is so very involved in the community. Your question, please.
I really believe that people of faith should work together with people of goodwill. In order to, I talked about the unraveling of urban neighborhoods. Now I want to talk about how do we reweave them. And one of the big problems is we have lost our sense of fathering, our fatherlessness in urban neighborhoods. So that one kid, by the time he had graduated from high school, had 23 children.
That's right.
And this has produced a problem that has created a fatherlessness, and every kid would like to hear from their father, this is my daughter or this is my son in whom I'm well pleased, and they don't hear it, and they're looking for it, and it creates a problem. And in our state, 40% of African Americans are in prison. If you were to go into an urban neighborhood, whether it's Detroit or Chicago or Cleveland or LA, any big city, and you were to take an area that has these problems, what would you do in it to reweave it, and how long would it take?
I think the answer should come from you. I don't know. I don't know.
That was a difficult question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.